Hello. This video I'm doing in response to the worrying number of clients I see who have a dog who's behaving in a way that for them is unacceptable, and the advice they're given is to ignore the bad behaviour, wait for a behaviour they're happy with, and then reward that behaviour, encouraging the dog to make a different choice. But there are a few problems with this, and I'm sure many of you who watch this video will find that you too have kind of got stuck. It started to improve, then it got worse. But with a lot of clients, what you'll say is it got worse and then never really got better. And there's a reason for that, or in fact, a couple of reasons. The first one is, if you don't make it clear to the dog that you don't want it to do what it's doing, it will never realize that. It doesn't know it's doing the wrong thing. So a lot of them will just carry on doing it because they don't understand why you're not responding anymore. So sometimes the first thing that happens is the behavior gets worse. Why aren't you paying me attention? So if you've got a dog who bites for attention and you're advised to ignore his biting and reward him when he stops, if you're lucky, what you'll get is a dog who now bites you but very quickly stops, waiting for his food treat. And if you're unlucky, you'll get a dog who doesn't understand why you're not responding, so starts to bite longer and harder. This is terrible advice. If you've got a dog who does some other form of attention seeking, rather than biting, he's running around stealing stuff or he's jumping up, and you ignore it, what will happen is that for a lot of those dogs, it'll get worse. Some of them may get frustrated, then get bored, then give up, but usually it takes months or even years. It's not a good technique. You want something that'll make it stop. The other problem with it is that even if the dog does get it, it'll take him so long to fathom that he no longer gets anything he wants for it, that you'll probably give up the training long before then. So it's almost doomed to failure before it even starts, because it takes so long for the dog to work it out. And I think this is actually slightly unfair on the dog. If he's doing something I'm not happy for him to do, why don't I just make it simple for him and tell him I don't like it? At least if I make it clear that I don't like it, he's got a chance to understand that and maybe offer up a different behaviour. I'll give you a very good example. You've got the dog who jumps up for attention, and I'm sure there's many of you have that dog. So you're told to ignore him, turn your back or just ignore him. He can't understand why you're not responding, so his jumping up gets worse. You still don't respond, so he starts biting or nipping at you. So you turn your back, which is what you're advised to do. So then he starts biting on your back. So you turn back to your front. So then he starts biting at your front. So you turn your back, he jumps at your back and bites at your back. And round you go. In the end, you're spinning around like Wonder Woman and the dog's still biting at you because he just doesn't understand, and he gets more frustrated, so he bites even more. No owner should be asked to ignore that, because that's only going to get worse and they're going to get injured. I've had owners who were told, well, put on a padded jacket, put on some sort of protective clothing. This is madness. Why don't I just tell him to stop jumping up? So one of the big problems with it is it just doesn't work reliably enough. And I see a lot of dogs who probably will end up in rescue if they don't get some intervention that says to the dog, you have to stop doing that. So many of the dogs I work with, once we make it clear in whatever way suits him, that is not a desirable behaviour, and if you carry on doing that, I'm going to do something that you don't like, the dog goes, oh, okay, I get it. And what's really interesting is many of my clients kind of have already worked that out. So when I explain to them that I'm going to use lots of rewards, I am a reward-based trainer, most of my training is focused on encouraging to get it the right way, but if there is something that he does wrong, there is going to be some form of correction that will suit him, that's non-abusive, but will get him to understand that he can't keep doing that. And so many of my owners go, well, do you know what? That's what I thought he needed. And I had this previous trainer out before and they told me I should never do that. I should just ignore it. But it didn't even make sense to me. And I think if the pet owners have worked this out, the dog owners themselves have worked out that this doesn't work, and then they try it and they find out it doesn't work, why are we as trainers still encouraging people to do it? It just doesn't make any sense. So those of you that are already probably thinking, you should probably use some sort of reward when your dog's doing it right, but you should also use some sort of negative consequence for when he's getting it wrong. You've cracked it. This was what my parents did, their parents did, their parents did, and none of them needed social media to learn how to train their dogs. They didn't need to watch YouTube videos. They didn't read books or watch TV shows. They just used common sense. And the common sense is being eroded from dog training, and madness is being put in its place, and this is where we're going wrong. So if you've got a trainer you're working with and it doesn't make sense to you, it's probably because it doesn't make sense, and you might want to look for another trainer. Best of all, I had a client yesterday who said to me that they got a behaviourist out to come and see them, and the first words out the behaviourist's mouth was, please don't judge me by my own dog. well, that's probably the wrong trainer. But good luck.